Like, the church is way too judgmental. If you feel like that's not for you, then pray for it. And this is not at all like me. Like, I don't know. I just feel like if Lecrae is not for me, then I have nothing to say about him.
Yo, what's good? It's your man Double. City Takers, Norfolk Music in the building. Right now, you in the field with the Trackstarz, and we in the field getting our hands dirty. You dig?
Yeah, back in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, SEANTANA, DJ Jeremiah, the most dangerous Christian hip-hop radio show on the planet. All right, make sure you go to Trackstarz.com for the latest. Go to our Twitter page at Trackstarz, Facebook at Trackstarz, Instagram at Trackstarz. Just to keep up with the latest, man. Send us your music if you want to get up on our SoundCloud and other opportunities. We've got a lot of stuff going on, so just keep up with us and keep supporting.
Also, make sure you go pick up Wonder Years if you haven't done that yet, too, because, that's important. It's bomb. But anyways, go pick up Wonder Years.
Yeah, Wonder Years is phenomenal. I mean, I've been listening to it over and over and over and over again. It is incredible, man. Definitely go pick that up.
All right, so we have a noteworthy.
Yes, we do. Okay, so this is entitled Lecrae. I have a question, and maybe you could use it. Lecrae made a deal with a secular label. It means that a secular guy now has the authority to say that Lecrae has no right to rap about Jesus like he used to. I mean, is it normal to sign a music deal with secular people when kids in the church buy your CD? We see Kirk Franklin making songs with Kanye, Lecrae with Ty Dolla $ign, and Mineo opened a show for Macklemore, but they don't really spread the word to these secular crowds. They just make positive music. My question is Jesus really pleased with this? We got people casting out demons, healing people in Jesus' name, but some people look very comfortable knowing that people are going to hell. The message in CHH has clearly changed. Lecrae used to be on fire for God, but he's kind of enjoying the secular radio stations now. And E40, Ty Dolla $ign, B.O.B. haven't changed at all. No Malice, Korn, DJ Ella are completely changed. I am not hating, but I'm afraid that Lecrae is going on the same path as Kirk Franklin. We also see T.D. Jakes being friends with Oprah, a new age believer, all that. Okay. So he's basically saying, Lecrae is in a great position to talk about God on like Sway in the Morning and things like that. But is he doing God's work? So we see all these artists dying, and it's a shame. But is the switch to Columbia a good move? And is it okay that we have non-believers who can change our godly content music? And let's see what else the other question is. And if the person on Columbia says that Jesus must be left out of his music, is that okay? And they just want to know our opinion.
First of all, kids in the church buy everybody's CD.
They sure do. He ain't Kendrick. Why he on stage rapping?
So that's number one. I think there may be some assumptions about what a record deal means.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the assumption that they could tell him what to do in his music, they may have some suggestions, but I mean, worst case scenario, he could still say no. They can't make him do it. Yeah, I think we have to be careful with some of these assumptions. I'm sure he's talked about this, so I don't know. I didn't hear. I'm sure.
Yeah, he talked about this on Wado's show.
Okay, so I would just be careful, just because, in my opinion, there are some people who are called to different areas of the church. Some people are called to raising up the flock, being pastors, encouragers of the body. Some people are called to going out and being evangelists. Now, how they do that, you may disagree with, but somebody has to, right? We can't all just be talking to each other. So if he thinks, and I'm just assuming purity in Lecrae's mind, if he thinks that he needs to go out here and really get into dark places with his message, and he has to make sure he's being sensitive to the ears that are hearing it so they don't immediately reject it, I understand that. We have that same fight. I understand that journey. I don't know Lecrae, so I don't know what he's thinking. I'm sure there's a lot of people who go down this path who do change, but I don't know if you can assume it. You know what I mean? Because until you have to walk that path, you have no idea how hard that is and how disappointing the journey can be. I mean, this journey of just doing Trackstarz and J-Dot and everything that we do has been disappointing. You meet people that you think are legit, and then you find out they're not. People take advantage of you. People just lie. People make things more about material things than you think it should be. And some of that stuff is disappointing. And if you go down this journey, I'm sure Lecrae has been scarred by a lot of things. So you may be seeing some of that build up in his heart. Not that it's a sinful thing, but it may just be a protection thing for his life, because you have no idea how many people will try and reach into your pocket as soon as you start to do well.
Yeah.
And how many people will leech off of you as soon as you start to do well. So I can't imagine at his level how many people are solely interested in him for what they could get out of him. So you just have to be careful with that. Like, some of the things he's doing you may not think is a good idea, but he's the one that has to decide. Like, so just pray that he's still in his prayer closet. He's still trusting God. That's what I would say. If he is making a mistake, pray that God brings him back.
I watched this sermon, and while watching this sermon, he talked about engaging with the culture. You know what I mean? And when he talked about that, when he talked about it in the sermon, I can definitely see that it looked like to me that he had a pure heart and that he had a purpose for what he was doing, and it didn't. And I know he constantly talks about this in the songs. It won't look like something that's safe to everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, his heart is pure, and he's getting into places where outside of certain things you can't always get. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of limitations, and I think him opening himself up to what he's been doing allows him to get into certain places and to reach certain people that he couldn't reach before. And so, I mean, I applaud him in his efforts, and I'm not questioning him while he's moving in that direction.
Yeah, I think so the Bible says the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. So Lecrae getting a deal with Columbia, and it's crazy that Lecrae is getting all this flack because NF is signed to a major that's doing the same thing, and he's not catching what Lecrae is catching. And I'm not even a super Lecrae fan, but I think people feel like because he's saved, they have the right to speak on him, but they won't say anything to Kendrick, they won't say anything to Chance, they're not saying anything to Eminem about their decisions. Oh, well.
On the places I've seen.
Yeah, some of these people would say, yeah, I am.
I just think that, the church is way too judgmental. If you feel like that's not for you, then pray for it. And this is not at all, me. I don't know. I just feel like if Lecrae is not for me, then I have nothing to say about him. Versus, let me just go tell Lecrae something. I feel like he catches way too much flack. For all the time he's catching flack, we could be supporting the cause or getting behind somebody that we feel is doing the right thing. Yeah. Instead of, if you don't think Lecrae is doing the right thing, edify somebody who is and get behind that. And I also believe, personally, that it's, everybody's not going to get saved if you stay in churches. So, people may be like, well, I think your message is changing. I've been places doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, but I still had the light of Christ in me, and I've seen people converted and been like, oh my God, and it made me sober back up. Do you know what I'm saying? And so every time it's not going to always be in the name of Jesus, I call that demon out. Being in the proper places at the right time, there's a grace and there's a spirit, and I'm not calling compromise a good thing or anything, and I'm not saying he's compromising. I don't know. I just feel like the world will not be changed because the church is at church.
Yeah.
So
I think Lecrae is in an interesting place right now because I think when I saw him on I know Sway, but when I saw him on Wado, he was talking about how he has a deal set up where Columbia is really focused on him, and he could use that using reach to focus on him was taking shine from other people, basically. It was taking shine from KB, Trip, and everybody else. So that Columbia deal has him just the main focus. So reach doesn't really don't have to do much focus on him. And money wise, Columbia could do more marketing and stuff for him like that and stuff like. So I agree with that, man. I think we've seen over the years and heard rumors and over the years about other artists in general having people at the label say, hey, man, don't speak on that. I remember when Kanye did Jesus Walks, and then Dame Dash, and then was like, don't be too preachy. This is okay, but don't be too preachy. So you do have people there, but I think they know his core fan base, and they know what he represents. So to me, that would be kind of stupid to be like, stop doing that if that's bringing in money. Because if you care about money, that's what it is. I think dealing with this person, I think that Lecrae with Rebel created a lot of kids with Rebel. And when he stopped being that Rebel guy, it's like your father left you and you Daddy, what are you doing? What's going on? Why you leave me? Why you know what I'm saying? Because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like when I hear
music for them and now he's not.
Yeah, it's almost like you turned your back on us. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And so they complain about it. And then when I listen to their music, it sounds like Rebel. It sounds like East Coast Rebel. It sounds like a down South Rebel. It sounds like a Midwest or West Coast Rebel. So I just think they don't understand you were successful this way. Why are you going this way?
Right, and I think it really depends on your level of success. I know because we talked to Lecrae years ago when this was doing really well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I could tell this frustration, just a simple frustration of, yeah, it's doing well, but it's doing well with Christians.
Yeah.
That's not what I was called to do.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself doing well monetarily and you have a lot of attention, but that's not what God asked you to do. He asked you to reach the lost.
Yeah.
You have to kind of like decide like, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
Because I could keep being successful here, and these kids may think that this music is helping, but I know that it's not.
Yeah.
So I need to do something different, even if they get disappointed in how I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I know, for me, I have to go talk to these kids, and this is what these kids need to hear, and this is how I have to do it. Now, doesn't mean his motives are pure. I don't know. I'm sure there's like a road lined with bodies on this path of people thinking that that's what they're doing, and then they end up falling off.
Sounds like an NFL.
I have no idea, but instead of saying, "Hey, man, don't do that," I would say, "Man, pray."
Be encouraged.
Somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody has to do it. So if it's him, cool. If it's
Why
somebody
not
else,
you?
cool.
Yeah.
But somebody has to go into the dark places with this message.
And be a
it
pioneer.
cannot spread just by talking about.
I think we still have
Yeah.
the mentality of let us build our own thing and let them run to it versus
It's a
us
tower,
running
the tower.
to them.
But that doesn't make any
Go.
sense.
Yeah,
It's like
that's
fundamental biblical principles.
Yeah, that's never been the call.
I think it makes sense based off of when you see people like using Kirk Franklin and Mary Mary, and they're just using them as in general. When they first came out and they were selling and people looking at that, mainstream look at sales anyway. I think everybody across
just
the table
all
can
money.
see that. Like you see money, and you seeing like this guy is selling stuff, and this is his first album. And these young ladies in this group is selling this Shackle song is going crazy, and it's all over the place. So when you're looking at that, it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, do we go after that, or I want to be friends with that person because I'm from the church too. I have a church background. I need to know about Kirk Franklin. His song is ministering to me. I don't even know it, but I can see it. You know what I mean? So I just think it's a lot. It's a lot, and I think prayer is there, but I think Dayton did the greatest job when I saw that video when he talked about at times like you do sound like you dumping on us.
I completely
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah,
that
like-
was a good
And
video.
that was a good correction and a good apology.
Yeah,
But it doesn't mean his whole life is wrong.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
because he may have did that
Yeah.
one thing wrong.
And I think too, there are different artists that have kind of highlighted, like Lecrae kind of talks in a lot of his music. Like even in the beginning, he was talking about like the Beautiful Feet song. When he was talking about people have to go into these places
Yeah.
and like talk to the hood. And so it's not like this just came out of nowhere. Like that was his heart from the beginning.
Yeah.
And you hear that through all of his music. But you can also hear like he talks about him having depression, him feeling like the weight of everybody, you know, telling him like, oh, you're gonna fall. And it's just like, I think we should just be praying, you know what I mean, and encouraging, and even like with Show, like he's talked about too, like just not wanting to, like we have to recognize people are people and they have experiences. Like yes, we're Christians, and thank God for Jesus, thank God that he is the one thing that we can agree on, but like we all have experiences and we have to be human too. Like you can't ever put anyone on a pedestal and think that they're Jesus Christ himself, because that's not realistic. So
Yeah,
And then even Christian labels, like Christian labels are so new. That wasn't even like a thing 20 years ago because of the Mary Marys and Kirk Franklins. So to like limit the message to a Christian label, I think is kind of absurd. But
and I think Kirk is killing it, to be honest. I think he's awesome.
And back
And
to
Mary
the
Mary.
back to the tower analogy, and that's why I always say it's both. You have to have a tower for people to run back to,
Right.
but somebody needs to go into their tower and
Yeah.
send people back.
And not
You
be
can't-
afraid, yeah.
Your tower is not going to be pretty enough for people in a equally pretty tower to come to yours. Like that's just not how it's going to work. Yeah,
True.
honestly.
yeah.
Right. So it's like, I think sometimes we like, if I make my tower super duper pretty, and I think this happened in real life with like, you go over to Europe and you see these super nice cathedrals and
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
look how pretty this is. And it's attractive, but it's like, I don't know if that should be the attraction.
Yeah.
Right.
You
It
see what I'm
shouldn't
saying?
be.
Shouldn't
There
be
should
like,
be
look,
a
look how
deeper.
awesome we are. Look how cool this is. Look how shiny these lights are.
Yeah.
I think that's a mistake. It's really the person-to-person interaction when you go into their world with the gospel and then hopefully bring some people back. Like
Yeah.
that's how it should work.
Agreed.
I think we gotta, if you don't, okay, if you feel that way about Lecrae, go to somebody else. I think you said it very well. Like, find somebody else that represents you and pour money into them. You know what I mean? Like, I never get the concept of, if I don't like, okay, if I'm not a big NF fan, I'm not gonna tell people like NF is the devil or NF ain't saved. I don't know that.
It's like he may be on a journey just like everybody else is. Let him do his
Let
thing.
me find somebody. If I like Bizzo, I'm gonna tell everybody, yo, go support Bizzo. Why don't we do that? I don't understand that. I don't understand why we so focused on Lecrae. If you don't like what Lecrae's doing, pray for him.
Well, here's why they care. Because whether you like him or not, and whether you go support somebody else or not, you are afraid of the influence he's having on everybody else. That's usually what I see from Christians, and I understand the mentality. It's like, man, I don't want all these kids to be influenced by a person I don't trust. So I got to do something about it. I got to speak against him so that people know that not everybody agrees with how he's doing this. Not everybody agrees that you should put a secular person on your record or do a song with whatever space is.
Do I agree with that? I mean, I feel like it's so many, in my personal opinion, it's so many dope singers that you could put on a record in the Christian community.
You know the
But
game. It's not about how good the singer is. It's about the market.
Yeah,
but honestly, that's not dumb. Like, I think that's really smart. Like, if you're trying to reach people who are like not Christian, then you need to like collab with people who will help you get that ear.
Like King David did that in the Bible. They said that he played to, like, basically he took a pagan song and played a praise to God. So you took the chord progression, and they recognized the chord progression, listened to this song, and were led to Christ. You know what I'm saying? Like, well,
King
not
David
Christ,
was doing
God at that time. That's
Kirk
like
Franklin back in the day.
That's fundamental, like, biblical principle. I'm not saying everybody can do it, and everybody has the, like, I think people should be careful. You need to know where you're at. But I just feel like people are like spiritually shallow, and so what their first thing to do is like, I don't understand that, therefore I do not like it.
Right, because even with Esther, like, I mean, she had to go and be united with the king and go before him, and if she didn't have that platform, she wouldn't have been able to help save her people.
I have a question.
The Esther is a good example of what is that valid. Is that an acceptable way to reach people, is by uniting with somebody who's not necessarily, because then there's other verses that make you think it's not okay. So that's an interesting
I have
space
a question
to
real quick. How do we deal with this coming from the youth ministry backside? Because I think that's what you're saying is true.
They're afraid of the youth ministry.
Because if I'm telling my kids don't listen to Ty Dolla $ign and Lecrae got a record with Ty Dolla $ign, that's a hard situation.
But you have to teach well. You know what I mean? Like, train your child up in the way they should go, and when they are old, they shall not depart.
Are you playing that song in the youth ministry?
Blessing?
Yes, I am. Because why not?
It just
you
depends.
can tell them not to listen to Ty Dolla because that he does not embody what you're about. If that's not edifying.
From a young believer that don't know that, they're looking at it like, that's a cosign, like you said.
But
that's a cosign.
If they're in, you said youth group.
Yeah.
If you're in youth group, that means you have someone over you who's supposed to be leading you, giving you direction. If you're out here by yourself, that's a whole nother situation. But as whoever that youth pastor is, hopefully they're spreading truth and they're helping them to know, like, hey, this is what you should be eating on. This you should be, feeding your spiritual man and not feeding this stuff.
And
you know
this
what I mean?
song is good. Like, this song you can listen to. Maybe the other songs by Ty Dolla $ign, maybe those aren't the songs
I feel
you should listen to.
I feel like even conversations are what's missing in the church. I feel like this is a great place to start in a youth ministry for a youth pastor to say, this is why I don't think this song is good, or this is why it is good. Whether they agree or not, I feel like Lecrae shouldn't shy away from it for the sake of a youth pastor not having to have a conversation.
Exactly. Exactly.
Here's the problem, and I think you guys are touching on something. It's hard. It's easier. I'll just say this. It's easier to just keep your kids from bad stuff, but what's harder is for them to on their own be able to tell, is this good for me or not? And that's a harder lesson to teach.
Yeah.
So that's what the controversy is. I want to keep them from all things that are bad.
Yeah.
But your kid at some point needs to know how to tell. Even Christian albums, you need to listen to every Christian
discern
song.
everything.
Yeah.
Every Christian hip hop song with an ear of, is this okay or is this not?
Right.
This line may be okay,
something
but this
could be
line
off.
he was prideful. Everything, nothing should be just taken in without nothing, unless it's
Because
the
it's
Bible.
not the mouth of Christ.
Everything outside of the Bible,
Yeah.
including me, needs
Exactly.
to be filtered.
Exactly.
Right. That's so
Including
true.
Lecrae,
And me.
including Ty Dolla
Exactly.
$ign.
Everybody at this table.
Everything.
No, but I say
Yeah.
that because I remember we had the pastor from Africa, and this is with church
Yeah,
clothes.
I remember.
And he was like, I was playing this for my kids, and my kids was like, who's B.O.B.? And I was like, oh my God, like, you know what I'm saying?
You don't want them to know.
You don't want to know
Yeah.
about that.
But I don't.
Here's the flip side of that. We pay attention to that, right? But on the other side, there's some kids who won't listen to Lecrae unless there's a Ty Dolla $ign. Those kids you
That's
say,
true.
those kids you want to say, hey, you know what? You like Ty Dolla $ign, right? Hey, he has this song with Lecrae. You want to hear that song? And they're like, I give it a try, right? But those kids are hard to grab, and there's a lot of those kids, right?
And
they're
the word
So
is
true.
who gets sacrificed, because
Right.
you have to
That's
almost
real.
sacrifice one for the other. Either you're going to reach these kids with something that they may pay attention to and possibly risk exposing this unsound kid to secular music, or you're going to keep everything away from them and possibly never reach these kids.
It's
But
the same
Lecrae's
for line,
goal
though.
isn't to reach everybody. He's reaching who he feels that God is calling him. And I don't know anything about his heart or anything, but I feel like for everybody to think that every Christian has the positive message for everyone, like I know that I'm like when I speak, I'm speaking to marginalized people. I couldn't care less about your mom being uncomfortable with me, to be honest. So I like for me, like this whole thing with like, well, you're sacrificing. Yes, that's the message. Christ said like I'm leaving the flock to go back for two. So for me, I don't care. Like if somebody is hurt because they feel like their white child sitting on a pew can't listen to Lecrae now because Ty Dolla $ign or like whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like I just feel like everybody believes that everything is supposed to apply to everybody, and that's not like life. Period.
And
You
it's
think
not to say that there shouldn't be anyone speaking to that white kid on the pew.
That just may not
but
be for him.
It just may not be your target, and it doesn't make you any less important. But it's just okay. I'm trying to target this person, and I think too, like we should not walk in fear so much to the point where, like, if your child hears something, like, okay, what is like putting on the armor of God for? What is Christ for? To help us with those things, not to be so afraid of sin that you can't even like be around it to the point you're paralyzed.
What's awesome about the Bible is there's a counter to every one of these points. Yes, that's everything we're saying is true, but what's also true is you also don't want to, when you sit with things that aren't good for you, it can change you.
Oh yeah,
Whether you
for
think
sure.
whether you're good or not. So every concept in the Bible, they always give parameters. They, like, don't go too far this way, don't go too far this way.
Right.
So it's not, nobody's wrong here. It's just that you have a good point, I have a good point. We got to figure out where our guidelines are in here. Where,
Right.
how much space do we have to play in this area?
And I feel like that's like we go back to that, like if Lecrae's not for you, then he's not for you. You know, like, and I just feel like this person, like, just like if it's not for you, then like find somebody else.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't let fear cloud your judgment. Like it's easy. Anybody, you know, we all have our things that like we're fearful of. But don't let fear make you so afraid of like being around. You don't need to go and put yourself in situations that are going to cause you to sin. But don't be so afraid of it that you don't feel like God is like the ultimate power. He's the ultimate source. He can protect you from anything. Like there's power in Jesus.
But again, there's stages, right? There's
Exactly.
a stage when you're not a Christian where you need something to come and reach you.
Exactly.
Then there's a stage when you become a Christian where you may need to retreat.
Kind of step back.
You need to retreat from everything. But then there should be a stage after that period where you go back in and help somebody.
Because you've been equipped.
And sometimes we like to stay away from everything.
Because we're just afraid.
So
yeah.
If you're in that part and you need to be there, stay there. But some people need to go back into their community, back into those dark places and change it.
Right.
I think you're seeing Lecrae's journey of needing to get saved, getting saved, needing to stay away from everything, rebel, I'm going against all this, to now I need to go back in and help the people that I left.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through that. So you may be at a different spot.
And having accountability in those spots too. Like when you go back into those places, you
Somebody
still have
needs
to
to
have
hold you.
people around you. Don't just think that you're strong enough to go into that thing by yourself, but like use wisdom, have people around you, and don't be afraid.
And that's why there's boundaries on both sides. No side of this argument is 100% right. Even the people who say Lecrae's doing a good thing, he needs something
He still
to
needs
hold him
perimeters.
back from
Exactly.
going too far. You need something to keep you from going too far your direction.
Right.
All right?
Agreed.
You're in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Wright to SEANTANA, DJ Jeremiah. Let's go.